I was reading last night about looking at certain buildings around the Blackburn area where I'm from originally in England, and there's a place called Calderstones and Brockhall, and there was big like asylums at one point, and then military hospitals during the First World War and so on. Anyway, I've come across this article. Well, I've come across a few, and they're all basically. This section describes the rapid development of the asylum movement in the 19th century and the strange parallel world that the asylum offered its inmates and attendants. But just the dates of that, why did they need a rapid development in asylums, and why did they build them all at this time? After 1812, could it have been after the reset? Could it be to do with that? The asylum age arrived suddenly in the 19th century. Until then, it had been accepted in English society that people with disabilities or illness who needed care and support got it from family, friends and community. Well, there's a fucking thought there. Now, reformers claimed that an asylum would be a safe place where lunatics could be cured and idiots taught. Maybe should have sent me here, then I might have learned something. No, anyway, but look, beginning with 9 voluntary institutions, the asylum movement rolled across the 19th century English landscape like an avalanche gathering pace. The mentally unsound were moved in ever greater numbers from their communities to these institutions. Was it just a case of, you think, like, well, they can't work in our factories because they're too busy looking after, like, the infirm and the mentally unstable, whatever. So they just like looked after them for them, so people could be freed up to work in the factories. I don't know, or what, because they fucking need them, because loads of people were suddenly mental because of fucking traumatic experiences they've just been through, they've got memories of, or whatever, you know. There were 3 main types of asylum built: the conglomerate, a hodgepodge of miscellaneous structures, Suffolk County Asylum; the corridor type, with wards connected by corridors up to a quarter of a mile long, Colney Hatch Lunatic Asylum in Middlesex; and later the pavilion type, where rows of female and male blocks each housed 150 to 200 patients, Levenston Hospital, Abbots Langley, Hertfordshire. Building styles range from classical Greek to Gothic. That's not much of a fucking range between them two, is it? I don't know. Not floor plans. Shall we have a quick switch here? No, that's not what we fucking do out, because I need to say my candle's fucked. Right. In their rural settings and surrounded by high walls to prevent escapes. I'm laughing, and it's not at all funny anyway. But just comical. Asylums were a self-contained world. The grounds were designed by some of the finest landscape gardeners. They contained farms, orchards, workshops, bowling greens, croquet lawns and cricket pitches leading off the wards, were airing courts, walled gardens with shelters where patients could safely exercise. Some asylums even had their own railway stations. The one I'm familiar with did. I weren't ever an inmate. There was a social club for the workers and the people who lived and worked around the hospital, and there was like a big social club where you could go and have a drink and all that, blah blah blah. My auntie and uncle were steward and stewardess for a while, for a time, back when I was away. So I used to spend a lot of time in the grounds of the hospital, in the village of it and that. There was peacocks roaming round. I'd be fucking, you're just walking along with peacocks about and that. You'd think you were, you know what I mean? It was strange. It was a strange place. You weren't mental when you got there. You wasn't. Fucking, if you've been locked in there without having to get out of it again. Well, it's just weird though, isn't it? Look at that. How ornate that is. Look at the size of that fireplace and all. Look, there would often be an asylum fire brigade with its own fire engine. And there was always a cemetery. Hemorrhoids Asylum. Cemetery, West Yorkshire, is now a memorial garden. As the asylums multiplied, the number of people certified as insane soared. More and more people arrived and fewer ever left. In 1806, the average asylum housed 115 patients, and by 1900 the average was 1,000. 1806, just before, and then afterwards, boom, boom, shell shock people all over the fucking place, and they started knocking loads more of these buildings up and all in that time. See, if you sit down your whole story, the average asylum in 1806 housed 115 patients. By 1900, the average was over 1,000, which is bad enough as it sounds. But how many asylums were there in 1806 compared to how many asylums there were in 1900? Does that make sense? Like I said, there was only 10 in 1806. That means there would only been 1,150 patients. 1900, if there was 10, that would have been 10,000 patients. But by 1900, I suspect there was a heck of a lot more. They were throwing them up. Early optimism that people could be cured had vanished. The asylum became simply a place of confinement. New wings and stories were constantly added until eventually a second or even third county asylum had to be built in many areas. In London there were 11 by this time. In 1866 the physician Sir George Paget, however you pronounce that, hailed the asylum as the most blessed manifestation of true civilization the world can present. Then 130 years later on, one historian described them as museums for the collection of the unwanted. The strange parallel world of the asylum always stirred up strong emotions, as it continues to do so today. Some of these places are fucking unbelievable. But some of them are like model villages as well. They were social experimenting and everything in these places. They must have been, weren't they? They were just big fucking lab rats. I don't know. Sorry. Right. See, that's the one near me, Calderstones. That's the one where my auntie and uncle were steward and stewardess, so I'd go over and spend time with my older cousins and get spoiled rotten and treat like a wee prince. And my cousins would take me off on mad adventures and that, exploring all around there. Like I said, there were peacocks and everything in this. Because there was the hospital itself, and then all the village around it were all built to cater to the hospital. So you'd have the patients using the village all day going, you know, and all that. Fascinating place. But I'll try and get that thing back up again, what I was reading more about it, because it's unusual, and maybe we know the reasons why, I'm loath to go on the Wikipedia site, because I looked at Calderstones Hospital, and on Wikipedia it said it opened in 1915, for the First World War, and became was a war hospital, opened in 1915. It didn't, it opened in 1911 as a mental asylum and got turned into a war hospital. So they're fucking lying straight away on Wiki. It's had a very, very bad writing, a research, whatever. Or it's fucking done on purpose. See, that the growth of the asylum. Right, look at that. Interior of X block, a first floor padded cell from West Hanover Lunatic Asylum. Fucking hell, Beginning with 9 voluntary institutions, the asylum movement rolled across the 19th century English landscape. I've already read that. From 1808, Parliament authorised publicly funded asylums for pauper lunatics. See, 1808. Do you think? I don't know. It's all very odd there. And 20 were built. From 1845 it became compulsory for counties to build asylums, and a lunacy commission was set up to monitor them. By the end of the century there were as many as 120 new asylums in England and Wales, housing more than 100,000 people. Back then, when the population was what, a third what it is now? Half, if that, if... Yeah, I read that. But what types of asylums there were. But what I want to know is the reasons for building them. The strange parallel world with asylum. Oh shit. Is that it? Oh, I can find them. No, that didn't work last time, so I shut down last time, innit? Sorry. I'm just looking at that plan. It's symmetrical, isn't it? You can draw a line vertically. In the centre there. You could do a vertical line and it's symmetrical. What's that? That's so regimented, isn't it? And the place it's slightly off is here. The positive and fucking negative. You think people maybe give off a different energy because they're unwell, you know what I'm saying? Different frequency. It's sort of like. Aye. It's beautiful all that one, isn't it? Ceiling and fireplace. Oh, there's another one there. That's not symmetrical, it's off centred that one, but my dogs always have to sit on me when I'm talking on to Kindle. They think I'm missing some out, so licking me. So I'm sorry you can hear hot. What? What is it? Talking to me? Mate, that's never gonna work. I'm sorry for wasting your time. Fucking no. I'll try and trim this anyway. I'm gonna have to edit it. I can't fucking expect you to do that shit. Sorry about that. Right. History of mental asylums. Part of our coverage is several hospital, a former asylum in Colchester. We take a look back at the history of psychiatric institutes and how these grand buildings house hundreds if not thousands of patients all across England and beyond, yet there's not a single one in use today. The level of specialist psychiatric care in the 18th and 19th century was very limited due to very little being known about it, and it was seen as a physical problem than a psychological one. See, how was very little known about it? I know that sounds stupid, but in a way, why? Because was it a new phenomena? Did people not get mentally unwell in such? Was it very rare before? Do you get what I'm saying? Why is it all of a sudden a thing? At the start of the 19th century, there was an estimated few thousand lunatics in various asylums across England, which rapidly grew to over 100,000 at the start of the 20th century. Starting the rise in asylums being built in today's society. Starting the rise in asylums being built. In today's society, asylums aren't used. The buildings stand derelict, converted into flats, or were bulldozed for new houses, leaving behind only memories and untold stories. Bethlehem Royal Hospital, or Bedlam, is one of the most infamous and oldest asylums ever built. The hospital was founded in 1247 and still remains as a general hospital today. It was the first ever place to specialise psychiatric care. So, I don't get it. Very little's known about it, but then all of a sudden they know a bit more about it, so they have to start building hospitals and looking after these people now. It doesn't add up, does it? They fucking needed them built. There was something wrong, obviously. I think so anyway. The time chamber, the asylums list. In 1914 there were over 100,000 patients within over 100 mental institutions. See, that's beginning of the First World War, 1914. So no one's got shell shock yet, or fucked up through the war yet. And there's already 100,000 in there. Over 100,000 since the passing of the 1845 Act, with the passing of the Care in the Community Act in the 1980s. I know we've gone back to it, haven't we? Right. This list was first compiled by Dr. Jeremy Taylor for his definitive publication Hospital and Asylum Architecture 1840-1914. Why did it all of a sudden become fucking such a big thing? And they became interested in, like, I think the wee villages and the buildings and all that, I think they were also like sociological testing, you know, sociological experiment, social experimentation, I think was going on in these places as well. There is also a Google Earth file detailing the location of the asylum around UK and Ireland, and it can be viewed at Google Maps here. Oh, it's a list of them, right? Warwickshire, Middlesex, Worcestershire, Gloucestershire, Bedfordshire, London, Berkshire, Yorkshire, Surrey, Lancashire, Surrey, Leicestershire, London, Warwickshire, Cheshire, County Durham, London, Yorkshire, Gloucestershire. Fucking Gloucestershire's got more than its fair share, hasn't it? Bedfordshire, Berkshire, London, look. Glamorgan, Gloucestershire, Essex, Sussex, Norfolk, Dorset, Yorkshire, Hertfordshire, every county. Lancaster Moor, Lancashire County Pauper Lunatic Asylum, 1816, yeah, the dates. See, some of them are suspiciously just before the First World War, or a few years, look, they started popping up before the First World War in even greater numbers. There's a flux of them at the beginning, and they trickle on to the 40s, and then in the mid 1800s there's a load of them, and then right at the end there's a load of them, in the beginning of the 20th century there's a load of them. And most of them, like it says, have been demolished, they're converted beyond recognition. But look at that. Holy fuck, eh? Well, and that one just in time for the Second World War. But there, Bedford Asylum, 1812. Closed 1860. 1850, 1877. So much going on here, isn't it? Why did the sudden need for all these? And the number just before the First World War, 10, 20 years before the First World War, pop up. And like I said, 1860s, there's loads of them. Like clustered around. They spread out evenly over that time, well, not evenly over that time period, but they spread out continuous flow of them, but they cluster around about the middle of the 19th century and then right at the beginning of just before the 20th century, from what I'm glancing and scanning. Look at that. That's just in England, I think, and Wales. Mental, eh? Right. How long is this vlog now? I don't know. This store again, Calderstones, right? 1915. I'm sure it opened in 1911. I'm convinced. Plans for the asylum were first devised in 1901, even prior to the completion of the fifth asylum. Blah 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 blah. Initial plans for the institution from 1904. More traditional pavilion, 1906. So, come on, man. Look. A third point of access was provided by a branch railway line from the Lancashire and Yorkshire Railways, Bolton, Blackburn, and Hellfield line, Hellifield line, at Barrow Sidings, where it entered the asylum property. The line, in cutting, crossed under a bridge carrying the Mitton Road and onto the main complex to the north of the staff cottages and isolation hospital. The line then branched further, with track continuing west to the gasworks and to the south to run through the service area, where access was provided to the boiler house and steward stores. Oh, I bet there was some fucking shenanigans went on there. Look, the total accommodation, including additional chronic wards, was planned for 2,000 inmates. The building was constructed from 1910. Sorry, I'm mistaken. It must have been more than 1950. Well, look, the additional chronic wards were sanctioned in 1911 and 1912. The Queen Mary's. The outbreak of the Great War delayed the completion of the final buildings. Right, so the Queen Mary's Military Hospital, officially it became Queen Mary's Military Hospital because of the war. That's just the one, like I said, what? Just hang around there when I was a kid. Oh, it was a weird place, It was weird. Me and my cousin used to climb up trees and that and look over into yards and that where they'd be exercising, some of them playing them, you know, and just like, what the fuck? What the hell is strange, isn't it? Look how old it looks there. How weathered it is. It's fucking weird. It looks brand new there. It doesn't to me. But what the fuck? My Kindle's going on page. Oh, something looking at. That's just a building from my hometown, which is a fascinating building, Blackburn Technical College. And look, that's a good shot because it shows the King George's Hall as well, which is another fascinating building. And these places, both of them two, have massive underground bits to them, and they're connected to the library, what used to be the police station and courthouse. It's a big, this building on the right hand side is a big massive block. Oh, it's just fascinating. It's just a big, beautiful, mad way they used to build things. And I know they were all interconnected. See on the right, there where that says King George's Hall, and that's the Blackburn Technical College in the middle. But if you crossed over that road on the right hand side, there was another building called Blakey Moor, with a swimming baths underneath it at the bottom, underground like, but all Victorian and smart as fuck all, and smart green tiles and all fancy and that. And then above that used to be a school. It's part of the college now, but it was a school where I went in first and second year, and then we all got moved to this big new building. But I was going to show you the fucking building, but I don't know like I'll bother. Yeah, it's smart as fuck building. And look, you can see steps going up, but you see the windows halfway along the ground, it goes right down that. That does have some basement to it. And like I say, this building here. Sorry. Anyway, back to Asylums. Yeah, it's all very odd, eh? I think so anyway. I think it's weird as fuck. That place used to give me nightmares. Them buildings, you see them all over. There's that style of building, you see a lot around that time. Right. I'll just leave it at that now, because I don't want it to be too long of a vlog, but just curious, eh? The timing of it, why we needed them asylums, and how there were so many mad people in such great numbers in a relatively short space of time, and how they seem to pre-build these buildings in some cases before like First World War and stuff like that, as if they knew they were going to be fucking needing them. You know what I'm saying? It's hey, over and out. I'd just like to finish up by saying that by the like 70s, 80s, I remember stories appearing in the Telegraph, like the local rag newspaper, telling you about people who've been put in these places. A lot of unwed mothers, you know, like in the 50s and 60s. I don't know. It's like as if they needed like new people to fill them, and there weren't enough people who were mentally unstable anymore. About this is just a theory, right? Because there was a heck of a lot of stories, like lasses who'd stolen a bit of coal or something like that, or a few pennies or something, you know, just that things. And then there was in there like 20, 30 years, and unmarried mothers. A lot of people like the stories. There's one what I was reading earlier, what was in the Manchester Evening News about a girl who'd been placed in the Calderstones one for being an unmarried mother. She gave up the baby for adoption, then a couple of days later, she says her words, the men in white coats came and picked her up. She escaped and blah, blah, the rest of it, but these weren't uncommon. These, you know, were common stories. They were not uncommon. So we're just like, just to keep these places running and putting people in there for the most spurious of reasons. Anyway, that's it. I'll end it there for now.